Welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and today we're visiting with Dr. Les Anderson. He's with the University of Kentucky, a beef reproduction specialist there. We're going to talk about something that's very important. It's been important for a long time, but with cattle being as high as they are, it's super important now, and that's to get a breeding soundness exam.
Breeding soundness exams are one of the key reproductive techniques that beef cattle producers can use to have a little insurance on a breeding season. It doesn't necessarily mean that your breeding season will be a success, but it does mean it won't be a complete failure. And so that's it. They're usually very cheap, and it's very cheap insurance to make sure that you've got a chance of having a good breeding season.
Absolutely. And if somebody says, I've never had trouble with this bull before, there are some situations that can cause a perfectly good bull to maybe not be sound during that breeding season.
Absolutely. And that's really the biggest problem is, well, yeah, I've used that bull for 4 or 5 years. He's never had a problem. What happens normally is that bulls will just go along and be fine. And in one year, for reasons we don't always identify or know, they completely go infertile. And if we don't check them routinely, it can be a huge problem. Injury, of course, I mean, sometimes you can see injury, sometimes you can't. But mainly a bull will just lose its ability to produce sperm and or lose his desire to work the cows. And you can't determine that if you don't check. I usually recommend people to check their bulls at around 30 days before the breeding season starts. At that time frame, if you happen to have an infertile bull, you have time to pick up a replacement. If you go much earlier than that, so let's say we went 90 days before the breeding season, there's actually a chance that the bull could go infertile between when you bought him and he came with a BSE, and when you turn him out with a cow. So you want to make sure that you get that thing done immediately, like 30 days ahead of the breeding season, just to reduce the risk.
So some people might say, I purchased a bull and he came with a BSE, but if it wasn't in that window right before you turn him out, it's probably a good idea to get him checked again.
90% of the time, you can't tell with visual observation.
Now, is there ever a case where your bull gets checked, has some abnormalities, you check him again in 30 days and he's fine?
When bulls get checked, they'll be given one of three different classifications. First, he'll pass, which usually means he's got at least 70% normal motility, 70% normal morphology, and an adequate scrotal circumference. So he passes. He's satisfactory. Then the other one, of course, is unsatisfactory, which one of those three criterion are not met. The third classification is deferred. And typically, what happens in a deferred classification is the morphology, the sperm head or the tail is slightly misshapen. It's a little bit odd. And you get the deferred classification. And so, somewhere in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you bring the bull back. 40 to 50% of the time, the bull will go ahead and pass. But if he doesn't get a pass, there's no second deferred. Just get rid of him. You're taking too much chance.
Absolutely. Now, out of the Beef Leadership Conference that we just attended, we had a program from Warren County that we thought we might put on a breeding soundness exam clinic. And so that's going to happen October the 7th. And Thomas and England Veterinary Services has agreed to do these for $55 per bull. You just need to call their
Wow.
office and be able to get that scheduled. And that's a service in any county. It doesn't have to be just Warren County. If you're a surrounding county and you want to participate in this event, you can certainly do so. And if your bull doesn't check out, then you have plenty of time before that next breeding season. So definitely take advantage. If you don't take advantage of this particular breeding soundness clinic, certainly reach out to your local veterinarian and get your bull checked if you're in that fall breeding season. So Dr. Anderson, appreciate you visiting with us today, explaining the importance of a BSE. And if you have any questions about breeding soundness exams, make sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.